somebody sitting here? Good morning, all. Hello. Welcome. Full house. That's great. And people are still coming in. We're going to start because we are limited on time, although I did find out there's nothing coming in at 12 right after us, so we have some lingering times. You don't have to hightail it right out. So that might, school board member candidates and Evangeline might be here to, talk to you outside or in here because we don't have to be right out at 12. Okay. Hey there, Joe. All right, my name is Diane Genovese, and by chance, my friend Alma wanted to have lunch with me and 3 others to talk about the election and things like that, and it blossomed from like 4 people was going to be at a restaurant to this. So, yay! We're in the home stretch. Where's the food? We're in November 5th, they're planning food trucks for elections, so we're going to talk about, you'll see on your news and the announcements, come before you vote or after you vote and visit with everyone, and there'll be a food truck here. We can bring food in, so that's coming up. Anyway, today we're going to hear from some people. Like I said, we're in the home stretch. We have people right in our community that are going to help us with our agenda, so to speak, and our values and our beliefs. And we're going to start off with school board candidates that are running for Fort Mill School District that, even though we're way past school time, it still affects us, maybe and our grandchildren and relatives and things like that. So first person we'd like to welcome is Michelle Hoffman, and she's running for Fort Mill School Board. So I'll hand over the mic to her. Just to talk for a brief time and then maybe open it up if you have some generic questions. I have her email, so I will post that if you want to email Michelle any questions. So, yes, sir.
Is this meeting also going to be discussing Silfab?
Yes, right after the 10 minutes for each thing, and then Evangeline will talk about Silfab. Yes. So come on up. All right, there you go. Michelle Hoffman.
Hi, guys. Thank you so much for letting me speak today. I really appreciate it. So I am running for school board as a parent, a teacher, and a leader. I am the parent of 2 daughters. I have one 8th grader at Forest Creek Middle and one 10th grader at Catawba Ridge High School. And I am running as a teacher. So I began my career in finance, and then my heart pushed me into the classroom. So in the 2008 recession, I went back and got my master's in order to teach at Queen's University in Charlotte, and then began teaching at Myers Park Traditional School. I taught there until my husband's job moved us. He was working for LPL Financial, so when they moved their headquarters over to Kingsley, we decided, why would we not move here? The school district is amazing. We can get more land. Fort Mill was everything that we hoped it could be. So we moved here in 2017, and I began teaching at Doby's Bridge Elementary, which is also our neighborhood school. So I was able to take my kids with me, and I taught there for 5 years. And then also I became a leader. While I was teaching, I served on our school improvement council. I served as grade level chair. And in 2020, I was named Winthrop University's Outstanding Collaborating Mentor Teacher. Thank you. So then I'm also co-chair of the Greenway Ladies Guild with Gwen. And I also serve on our youth ministry team at Unity Presbyterian Church. And I love being a part of our community. And I'm also running for 4 kind of main points and reasons that I would really like to accomplish goals when if I get on the board. I'm really focused on retaining and attracting teacher. As a former teacher, I really want to make sure that we stay competitive. Right now, we're #1 school district in the entire state. I want us to stay that way. Rock Hill is now $2,000 higher for that beginning teacher salary, and that's tough because that's a competitive area. I mean, that's right next door. So any teacher could just go next door and get paid more. Even someone at my experience level could make $5,000 more going to Rock Hill. So I want us to keep our teachers competitive pay in order to be able to retain them. Another thing I'm really focused on since COVID, I've really seen a really big need in our counseling services. Mental health has been such a struggle, as well as our special services. They are stretched so thin. I did a long-term sub at Gold Hill Middle School, and those guidance counselors are running all over the place. There's not enough of them to keep up with the amount of mental health struggles going on in our middle schools. So I'd like to see more of that. As well, I'd like to see some more academic programs. I think if we want to stay the best, we've got to keep growing. In our academics programs, we've done some great things with some vocational programs, but I'd like to see more. I think that we could add in some certifications that maybe kids that aren't on the track of college could earn a valuable certification while they're also earning their high school diploma. I'd really like to see more of those. I've had a lot of parents ask me about language programs. They really want to see more, whether it be language immersion or starting them younger so that they're able to become more fluent in language. And then also, too, some of our kids aren't able to march in the marching band, but they still want to play an instrument. So I'd love to see an orchestra. Other school districts around have orchestra programs, and we don't. And that's something that my youngest loves music, so that's something I know she would love to see as well. And then last but not least, greater transparency. I feel like sometimes in the district, we don't really know the why behind some of the decisions that are made. And I think if we know more about why things are the way they are or why the decision was made to do X, Y, and Z, then we feel more kind of a part of the decision-making process, and then we become more of a stakeholder in it and feel like there's more trust between the school board and the district. So those are all the things that I would like to focus on, and I would love your vote on November the 5th. So please vote for me, Michelle Hoffman, for school board. Thank you. Yes, question.
The question is, what's your position on all these books that have been banned, that are classic books that everybody up until this generation has read?
It scares me to death, especially, do you know, half of the list on the AP Lit exam are under fire for being banned books. How are these kids going to pass an AP exam if they can't read the books that are on the list? It's frightening. And I think it's very concerning when we're thinking about, people that are running that, are for banning, and it frightens me. There's already a process for books that you can question. And there's one that's already been banned that, how many kids had checked it out of the library? 0. But so there's already a process in place to question books, but absolutely, it terrifies me because, these are classic novels that kids need to read to get a full education. Catcher in the Rye, exactly. That's one. Yeah, I have a whole list, or actually a whole selection in my library at home for my kids to read, just to make sure that they've read them because they are so important. Mm-hmm. Yes.
So how many seats are open for the school board, and how many people are running?
Got it. So there's 7 total people that sit on the Fort Mill School Board. 3 are up for election during this election. 3 seats. 3 incumbents are rerunning, and then 3 challengers. So 6 total people for 3 seats are running right now. Yes.
I was at a meeting earlier this morning, and a speaker spoke about artificial intelligence. Mm-hmm. And what is your opinion about AI in the school system?
It's hard because the kids, want to write papers. So based on the kids using it or teachers using it? Kids. Because sometimes I think for teachers it could be valuable in order for lesson planning. But for students, it's really tough turning in that as your work because they can. And I mean, a lot of times you can tell. I've seen some that have turned it in. Actually, when I was subbing, you could tell based on they'll copy and paste immediately, and like it'll say, something that you can tell is straight from a computer. But I think it's really hard. A lot of teachers are kind of combating that by making them write in person, like in the classroom, by hand, back to notebook and paper, which I kind of think is what you have to do in order to maintain that they're not using AI. It's such a hard thing because it can be so helpful in so many ways, but we've still got to get that critical thinking from the students. And I think kind of just having them do it in class is the way to make sure that they're not utilizing AI.
I think that was a very good answer.
Thanks. Any other questions? All right, I'll be around too if you have any questions that you think of. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. And I will post Michelle's email, so if you have a question later on that you'd like to ask, you can send it to her. We just have a few minutes before Evangeline steps in, so if you want to just kind of take a minute, you can chat about things. I know there's Carolina relief going on across the way for the storm victims, that we're doing a good job here at Carolina Orchard showing our care. So that's going on, and our next meeting in October, we'll have 2 more candidates to talk, and if you want to talk to me about what you might want to do, that would be great help. And so I'll let you talk amongst yourself. Yeah, question? Sure. Go ahead.
Are there other like-minded people like you that are running for the board?
I would say so. There's maybe 2 candidates that are a little bit more for, I was like, how can I politely say this? A little bit more for more banning books, more extreme. Thank you. So that's where it's tough, right? Any former educator is going to be more like-minded because, we've seen in the classroom what it's like. We've, looked at all the things. I feel like when you're firsthand experience, then you kind of feel a lot more like-minded.
So do you think you have influence on the board and not ban books?
So a lot of it's the state policy, and I'm not sure if you know who our head of education is. Ellen Weaver. Yep. She's very extreme. And so that makes it difficult. But there is a policy in place as far as the banning of books, but it is very, I would say, based on what the state kind of gives guidelines, so there's not as much. And I mean, there's a little bit because, in the policies that the school board puts in, as well, that they vote on, there's some input into that, but a lot of it is carried out or based on what the state mandates.
And what happens if you don't follow the state's mandate?
You lose your funding. Yeah, we can't do that. Yeah. Unfortunately.
Yes, very good. Well, thank you. And we have our other candidate here. Denise Casey is here. Come on in, Denise. And she will give her views and why we should vote that way. And remember, we have Matt is on the running for the State House, right? So, yeah, so, vote blue, which I'm sure most of you will. But that's how we can keep those people, pushing for those kind of, not extremes, I guess I should say. So here you go. Denise, welcome. There you go.
Thank you so much. I am Denise Casey. Thank you for being here today. I appreciate your time and the opportunity to speak with you all. I know the question was asked if there are other like-minded people. I am like-minded. I believe in education. While I don't have a background in teaching in public schools, I am a nurse and a nurse educator. So I believe in public school education. As I grew up in public schools, my kids were taught in public schools. And we are now citizens of this community that are proponents of public education. As a nurse, I see firsthand the things that our kids deal with beyond the school system, things that deal with anxiety and stressors. I see teachers every day and staff every day who love our children dearly, but are often overwhelmed with the educational benchmarks that are being placed upon them. So I know the back end of what our students, our teachers, and our staff deal with every day. And that's why I'm running for school board, because I want us to place an emphasis on mental health and wellness. I want us to prioritize mental health in our school systems, hiring more counselors, investing in programs that will build mental health, build emotional intelligence, build that critical thinking that Michelle talked about, and build resilience in our students, not just our students, but also our teachers and our staff. I think it's important for us to actually recognize that mental health and wellness is an issue in our community, and we must attack it and build it up and not shun it and put it away, as we have been doing in the past many years, many decades. It is time for us to recognize it. It is time for us to put programs in place to help us to get to a better place with our mental health, as well as our physical health and our academic pursuit. My second pillar in my platform is the pursuit of academic excellence. We know in Fort Mill that we have great schools, and we are #1 in the state as of this year, which is an awesome thing. We want to continue that. You can't run for school board and not have a priority on education and excellence in education. And therefore, I want to continue that. I want to build our students. I want to continue to build our teachers and our resources to make sure that we are continuing to be #1 in the state of South Carolina and recognized throughout the country for academic excellence. And then lastly is where you all come in. I am a mother of 2 young adult children, and therefore I believe that as members of this community, we have a responsibility to our students and to those that come along behind us to educate them, to support them, and to build them up in this community as citizens of this community. We need to be there for our students, for our teachers as resources. We need to be the ones to go into our schools and say, hey, what do you need help with? What can I do that will help you on a day-to-day basis? Can I tutor you? Can I help you with the additional things that you have to do day to day? Can I help you with your project? We can do that. We have that extra time in our day because our kids are older. They have to cook dinner. They have to provide the Uber services to football games and baseball games and soccer games. But we can go in and we can be that resource as well. And I want to involve us more in what goes on in our schools. I want us to be that bridge that helps our students and our teachers to alleviate some of the stressors that they have day to day. I want us to be more transparent with you about what we need in our schools and how we can help in that manner. And I can tell you a personal story. About 3 weeks ago, my life changed dramatically when a car sped through a red light and hit the car that my family was driving in. I was in Greenville at the time, and my oldest son was the only one that was not in the car, and he called me frantic. And he was like, Mom, they've been in an accident. I'm trying to get to them. I don't know what to do. And so I had to calm him down first so that he could get to the rest of the family. And he made it, and he got there. And since the accident, his mom and his dad and stepmom have been in 2 separate hospitals. My son is 22. My daughter is 25. And they have a younger brother that's 10. They all were in the hospital over the weekend of the accident, but the parents have been in the hospital for the last 3 weeks. And my daughter can't drive because she has a fractured vertebrae, but my son has been trying to manage his younger brother getting to school, his sister with no transportation other than myself, and his parents at 2 separate hospitals. And I tell you that to say that my children were raised by a nurse, myself, an educator, my ex-husband, and a counselor, their stepmom. And we've instilled in them high emotional intelligence. He knew that what he had to do was to step up and be the source of strength for his family. We also instilled in him critical thinking in high-stress situations. That's where that nursing comes in, that you have to calm down. You have to think things through logically and how we're going to get through this situation. And then thirdly, we've instilled in them academic excellence. My son is still in college, but he's still going to school. He's still attending classes while managing his family. But the last thing is that he would not be able to do all of this without his village, and that's where all of us come in. So I tell you that my platform works. My ideas work. We just need a way to get them heard by the masses, and that's why I'm asking for your support today. As a member of this community, one that is willing to use her voice to strengthen our community, I'm asking for your support, I'm asking for your trust, and I'm asking for your vote today. I'm Denise Casey. I have flyers with my website if you would like to peruse my website to know more about me, and I'm here for any questions that you may have. Thank you.
It's so good to see a face with the name, so when you go to the ballot box, you know who you're voting for. So thank you very much, Denise, and thank you, Michelle. Right now, we have Evangeline is here. So she is going to talk to us. Can you hear? No, it's kind of off. Microphone? I don't know. Anyway. Test, no. Anyway, we're going to have her talk, and she's going to kind of address the Silfab issue and the Ralph Norman thing. Hello? Yeah, for the TV. Okay, so Evangeline, if you want to come up here, and let's give her a nice, warm Carolina Orchards welcome. And I'm sure she'll be open for questions. Hi there. I guess you can talk into the mic for the television feed. That would be good. All right. Well, welcome. Okay, there you go.
Let's throw some things back here. Hello, everyone. Hello. How are you doing today? Good. Well, you look great. What a big crowd. Last time that I came and had the privilege of speaking at Carolina Orchards, I was across the street at the other venue. So this is kind of new to me, but I do like it. It's nice and cozy for us all. And I will introduce myself. I'm Evangeline Hundley, and I'm running for South Carolina's 5th Congressional District. I'm running against Ralph Norman. Some of you may know him in here. As a matter of fact, maybe there are those who voted for him that are in here. And in that event, I hope that you will reconsider your vote this time and vote for me. Why? Why vote for me? Well, a whole lot of reasons. And I hope that I'll be able to present a couple of those today. I am a native of South Carolina, and I have lived in the 5th Congressional District my entire life. So I was around during the time that John Spratt served this district, and he's a giant in my eyes because I think that he did a lot for us as a constituency and citizens of this state. So those are, to me, big shoes to fill because as far as I can tell, and have researched and seen what's been done in the state over the time since he was there up until now, he was the last representative that we had that really made progress for this state. So I want to not only fill those shoes, I want to leave bigger shoes for someone else to come behind me and fill. So I am, like I said, born in, Newberry, South Carolina. Is anybody familiar with that place? Okay. And so I attended Winthrop University from 88 to 92 is how I kind of ended up here. Then travels around a little bit, Baltimore and back, and what brought me here again from Newberry was marriage. So I married my husband in full circle. Here I am again. In between that time, as a profession, I'm a residential builder, and I will be 20 years old next year as a residential builder, and also I'm a realtor. So that is my life outside of running for this office. So I come from a business background, and because my father's an entrepreneur. He was a barbershop owner, and my mother was a high school teacher. So that is kind of how it's made, and how I came to be in politics was that I know that South Carolina can do better. And I have been watching the record, following the record, looking at the votes, and saying to myself, when I see roads that are ill repair, and I see that we are growing, happily so, and we need the infrastructure to support that growth, be it roads, bridges, schools, shopping, housing, right? I wondered to myself, how can anyone who would represent their state, knowing that there are things that we need, and then vote against it? So when I look at what can be done in this state and how our current representatives are voting against us, it really bothers me a lot. I don't stand here as a partisan person. I believe in progress. I'm running as a Democrat because I believe in the policies that we're currently doing. And those policies really are for the people. And it's to build up the people so that, and our surrounding areas, so that we can live comfortably, that we are taking care of people who may not have the means that we would have, and that we're growing bottom up, middle out, because the country was built by us and not by the people at the very, very top. And I'm going to venture to say that is very, very few people in this state that are in that, say, 1%. And so that being said, we've all got a vested interest in each and every one of us doing great. So the record, Infrastructure and Jobs Act, my opponent voted against. My opponent voted against the Inflation Reduction Act. So we're always talking about the prices being high, right? And we know that the inflation is coming down, thank God. But it's hard for some people to feel that right off, and we understand that, but there are things you can do to help it. So when you know that that's the case, why would you vote against opportunities to help people afford their life, right? And so there's that. There's the PACT Act, which helps veterans who were hurt during war with toxic chemicals. How could you vote against helping veterans in a situation like that? He voted against that. There was the Inflation Reduction Act, I said that. The Infrastructure and Jobs Act, I said that. Just pretty much everything that comes across, whether it's Women's Protection from Violence Act, nothing to do with Reproductive Act, because we're very clear as to where mostly conservatives stand on that. And I just think that women should have a right to make their own decisions, and that it has to be kept between the healthcare provider and the woman, and not a decision that's made in the political realm. So that is one of the things that I am 100% certain about, and would like to keep it that way, or rather revert to it being that way. Because we live in a state that has the 6-week ban, and that is like the beginning of the Project 2025. You've heard that before? Everybody's familiar with that? Is it scary? It's super scary, but we're leading the way. And like I said, I'm from the South, so I'm not afraid to come out and just say, hey, we started the Civil War, and we will be the ones to lead the way to 2025. And that's not good. It's just not. None of us want to live in that world. So what do we do about it? We have to select people who are going to not want to constrain us in those ways, not want to take us back when we need to be going forward. And so I want to move this state forward. There are so many things that South Carolina needs and can have that we're missing because they're not allowing them to come through, such as Medicaid exchange. Have you heard of that before? Opening? Well, it affects people who make a certain amount. They're not really qualified for low income, but they're not making enough to cover themselves. If you open up the expansion, it covers way more people. And North Carolina just did that, and they have covered over 500,000 people, and that's about how many we have uninsured here. So it would certainly help to be able to do that. And so I will advocate for that. That's a state level thing, but I can certainly advocate for it. So when I ran in 2022, this is my second time running against him, it was so that I could see the people in my state. My vision is to see us be healthier, wealthier, and wiser, right? So as a part of the healthier part, that would be a big gain. Also, with regard to health, we need to expand our services that are available. There are 14 counties in our 46 counties in South Carolina that don't have an OBGYN. And yeah, 14 counties don't have that now. And so it's the basic things that we need to look at that are overlooked. And just quite frankly, it's as if they don't care about the people here. So I do. And I want to make a difference. I know that there are bills right now that we can get in there and pass that would affect each and every one of us, such as codifying Roe v. Wade into the law of the land. We definitely need to do that. And we need to strengthen Medicare. Does anyone here receive Medicare? Well, are you happy with your advantage right now? Okay, well, here's the problem. Medicare is supposed to support you after you've reached a certain age and you've put all you've had into it, right? And it falls short. Let's be frank. It needs to cover your vision, your hearing, your dental, and your prescription drugs. I understand that. So we've fallen short. So when you hear the term we want to strengthen and expand, that's exactly what we mean. We just want to put into place the things that should be there anyway. Because quite frankly, Medicare Advantage is not an advantage when it's private insurance, number one. And so there's a bill right now that's on the table in Congress to just have the private insurers stop using the word Medicare and present it as private insurance so that people know the choices that they have. And in the meantime, we'll be working on strengthening real Medicare so that you get what you deserve. Okay, so my husband's also on Medicare right now, and I made sure to make sure that he did not move to Advantage. But when it comes to prescription drugs, I know why you go to Advantage. It's the other things that they provide. But we can do better as a country, and there are bills to do it. We just need to have the will and the people to vote for it. I'm willing to do that. Social Security is a huge another one that needs to be strengthened and expanded so that right now we want to eliminate that when you make the windfall, when you make more money than after you've gotten your Social Security, they cap it and make it very difficult. We want to eliminate that to make it easier for you and not limit what you can make. Okay, that's another huge thing. There are so many things on the table that we can do. We just need the numbers and we need the votes, and we don't have them. But I would like to know, what are your greatest concerns if I were to be your representative, what things matter to you? I know there's one that's local, and the name of it is Silfab, right? Silfab. Well, let me address that real fast, and then I'll open it up for any questions that you may have, okay? So with Silfab, I will tell you I've been following this. You saw my press release about it? Okay, and I've tried to make sure to keep in communication. Is Scott here by any chance? Scott's not here today. I've been communicating with him because he has been doing the work, as you guys know, tracking everything, keeping up with all the things, adding new information when it's necessary, really digging deep into the type of chemicals and what all is threatening you guys right now. Well, where I stand with Silfab is it was done all wrong. It was not supposed to be zoned for light industrial, which is what the zoning is now, right? Okay, well, there is the problem, and where I stand on is that when you guys took it to the BZA and they approved and said that you were right, that these type of chemicals were not supposed to be put in this area, in a dense area like where we are with schools coming and currently existing. There's 6, I think, that currently exist within a 1 mile radius. So they were right. I think that the BZA ruled in the right way. But let's face it, guys, this is a huge company, and they have put a lot of investment, we'll say, already in. And so it's kind of the cart before the horse. I think that there wasn't enough research done from the county perspective to really understand and know what all was being produced, and that when they applied for it, they didn't, I don't think, fully reveal what it was that they were going to be doing. It was going to be some type of, I think, storage facility prior to it turning into a full-fledged manufacturing company. So I stood on the fact that the zoning was incorrect. And on that,
It was incorrect?
if it's light industrial, as it says that this property is, based on what they're producing, it appears to me that that's leaning toward heavy industrial. And
I
so,
misunderstood what you said. I just
yeah,
wanted clarification.
yes, that is leaning toward heavy industrial. Therefore, I believe that this company is located in the wrong place for what it's producing. Okay, and the reason why there's zones is based on density. It's based on the amount of people. And when you're talking about heavy industrial, it's rural for a reason, so that it doesn't, there's the 1 mile radius that you have the ability to be safe. And so what I did was on the environmental side, because I believe that we should be moving toward alternative energy. Okay, that is something that we got to do to survive, basically, but we need to do it in the right way. We need to do it in areas that don't have people, a lot of people don't have schools involved. And so I think that if it came back to the board, again, what I will do, I'll tell you what I've done so far. When I learned about the issue, I studied it deeply in every aspect, and I could see the economic side. But that is promises. The way I look at that, it looks good when you're an economic development board and you think, ooh, all these jobs and hundreds of millions of dollars coming in our community and all the things they're going to do. It looks good on paper. But sometimes those things don't even work out like that anyway. So it's projection that will be the case. In the meantime, you have homeowners who've been here who are paying taxes. I think that you're the people that I would be more concerned about, because that's long-term, whereas businesses, they come and they go. How many big manufacturers have we seen that open and then close? Whereas homeowners, they stay. They have the vested interest. That, to me, is the long-term that you look at. So while it looks good on paper, I'm not certain that they're actually going to fulfill what they put on paper. But even if so, going past that, you have to be zoned properly. I am a developer, and I know that there's a process when you go to zone. You have to go through the 3 readings. You have to have your community hearings. You just have to have it right. So what they did is a lot backwards. They approved it, the county. You guys fought against that. got your ruling, the ruling should have stood. So what happened after that is the part that's really questionable, is that it appears the plant is too big to fail, if you will. And so that's the way it appears, because they're moving straight ahead as if the BZA didn't say you can't do this. So now it's in, as I understand, it's still in litigation?
And then at the end of the week, the judge will give a decision.
October, right? We're waiting for that decision. And do you know what they will be deciding on? Is that to uphold the BZA, or is that to?
No, yes, whether Wally Buchanan can be a party to the case.
One more time.
Whether Wally Buchanan can be a party to the case. That's what the judge was discussing yesterday.
And how does that affect you? How does that affect this process?
SILFAB appealed the Board of Zoning Appeals decision.
Yes.
And they asked for mediation. So they wanted SILFAB, Exeter, the landlord, and the Board of Zoning Appeals to be in mediation, for the three of them to discuss a mediation agreement without the community or Wally Buchanan, who lives 110 feet away from the plant, being involved. So Wally filed suit to be interested third party. So the judge yesterday was discussing whether Wally had standing to be that.
Okay, because my understanding was that is Wally the attorney for your citizens?
He's a citizen.
He's a resident, but you have an attorney representing your citizens, and that was the third
He
party.
filed the motion for Wally.
Okay, and the decision that you're waiting on is whether they will accept Wally as
Yes.
a mediator. So, okay. Okay, so is there any possibility that this will go back to the board?
Yes.
Okay. Let's see, there it is. Okay, so in the background, what I've done is I sought out the advice of the Sierra Club, who, is the premier environmental, association, if you will. And I wanted them to take a look at the chemicals and what was provided there. And basically, I did get some feedback from them, and I forwarded it to Scott because I felt like you guys had already answered these questions based on the stuff that I had read. So the thing that I got back was, after taking a look at the chemicals SILFAB plans to use, this lady who is with Pamela, who is with Sierra Club, she did a small amount of research online and discovered the info on silane, right? That's
Silane.
Silane. It's been being pronounced as silane. Thank you for that correction. Silane, which the company plans to discard after use. We need to obtain details about what is meant by disposal outside. In canisters on site as a discharge directly into the air, and a tank to be transported to be dealt with at a hazardous waste facility. Has anyone checked with SCDES, formerly DHEC, or the EPA? And then she gave a link to a scientific site that spoke about silane. Thank you. I have to get that in my head. And then I think I printed that out. But then it was to pass this along to the community members who are expressing their concerns, as well as to the council. Both groups, citizens and councils, need to ask questions and get verifiable answers. Well, that's all you guys have been doing, is asking questions, trying to get those verifiable answers. And I was at the meeting that Ralph Norman had for Town Hall. That was wild. He was not the representative that I would be. Let me just put it like that. It's just a matter of really hearing what you're saying, digging into it, because obviously I would have a few more resources maybe than you guys would, and that I would take it to the next level and make sure, because one of the biggest questions or most important ones that came to my mind, because they focus a lot on the old DHEC, what's the SCDES, where they talked about the air. But someone brought up in the room, what about the groundwater and the ground and the water? And that is an excellent question. So it requires some answers, right? So have you gotten any more feedback since that meeting? From anybody? Yeah, because there was a lot there to dig into still yet. So pointing at a screen is not the way to do it. It is seriously to address what you know and deal with it as such. So what I would do, again, I'm trying to get as much information as possible from legitimate sources who study the environment and definitely don't want this type of thing, because, you know, in that Inflation Reduction Act and the Infrastructure Act, a lot of that is to go and mitigate for some of these same things that you're trying to prevent, where you have the ability to hire an attorney to help work through this with you, at least try. There have been communities in which these type of things have been built into, which have affected the groundwaters, which have affected the environment, which is why we have high rates of, say, diabetes and what they call comorbidities that, you know, other races deal with, is because of sometimes the locations that they were in, that the air was polluted, that the water that they drink from these type of facilities, not necessarily making solar panels, but other ones that didn't protect their environment. And so the monies that are in, some of the monies that are in these plans are to, when I say mitigate, pull up the lead pipes, guys. Try to change the dynamics in communities that didn't have that opportunity.
I just wanted to ask, he kept sloughing off saying he's federal, he can't do anything because it's local. Now, I understand you can't go maybe to the zoning board itself, but as our federal representative, could you get in on it?
What I would do and what I intend to do, this is the next step for me, wanting to hear where we were with the ruling, because I knew it was still being in litigation. And then after that, having sought out some advice, my plan was to do a letter to, I've already had an opportunity to meet with one of the council people who voted for it, knowing that there's only a one vote differential that could help this case. So they were basing their information on what they had at hand, but that was before I went to the town hall, before I did all my research. But now that all that's been done, I am going to write a letter to every single one of the council stating where I stand, you know, with this, and that I feel like if this should come up for a vote again, that it would be, I think, for the best interest of this community to vote against it.
So what you have is corruption blocking our efforts every step of the way.
Yeah.
This is what you've got. And this is why we are where we are.
Yes.
You've got, you know, if you're not for us, you're against us. If you're straddling the fence like a lot of these politicians so that they can talk on both sides of their mouth, they're not for us.
Right.
Make no mistake. And that's where we are right now.
Right.
We've got to get rid of these politicians. First thing we've got to do is get rid of Silfab. Second thing we've got to do is get rid of these people that have been corrupting and blocking our efforts every step of the way. And that means people like Norman, people that are on the council that have voted against us because they blocked the BZA. This is where we're at. This is what we need to do. That's my opinion. Y'all have your opinion. That's where I am.
And you know, from what I agree. Thank you.
So obvious.
Yeah, it's so obvious. And what I've heard in this process is they've changed guard throughout. There was a developer, right, the head of economic development, and this is where Scott is really staying on top of it too. He could help me with. He got fired, right? And so there's been a lot of turnover to keep, seems to me, to keep it going.
Keep it going.
And so that, because there's a lot wrong. Okay, and so from where I stand, not being on the council, I can make the statement of where I stand. And where I stand is that the zoning was all wrong. And when I met with the council, I explained to him that I have had to have property rezoned before. And that unfortunately you can't build in places that you can't build. And clearly it says certain types of chemicals. And falls into heavy industrial. So it's black and white. It's just reading it as it is, right? It's here are the regulations or the rules. You have to work within the confines, or you work to rezone it. And then in that process, there's opportunity for the community to be involved in the process. It just seems like a lot was missing throughout this, that when the BZA ruled, I don't know how it got back to where we are today. So, except that there's too much investment. The only thing I could read
The corruption.
through it, is that there's already...
County council apparently circumvented the BZA ruling. There's two issues at stake here, our health and our property values. That's basically it in a nutshell. And
I heard that.
It's all about the money. They don't care about us.
Yeah, property
They
value is
don't
huge.
care about us.
I mean, that is huge. Of everything that was said the night of the town hall, what made my ears perk up is the idea that people were sell and move, that people might not want to buy, in this area. There's your long-term investment. It's in homeowners. That's where
The problem is you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. In other words, if you think, well, Silfab's going to get in, I got to get out of here, I got to sell my property.
Exactly.
And
You don't want to.
But you can't sell it because people are thinking, well, Silfab's coming in, I'm not going to buy that piece of property. So then you say, well, I'll stay and hopefully Silfab won't get in, but then they get in, well, guess what? Now you can't sell your property anyway. So you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't.
My biggest fear is that county board, which after we went to the zoning, and the zoning did the right thing, then a bunch of us went in front of that county board. I went in front of them with a host of questions, and I was told in no uncertain terms that this is not the platform for questions. Christy Cox stared me down and said that. I then wrote letters to every one of them, and nice letters. I wasn't, accusing, but and then she went on a tirade about the Constitution. That I wrote in the letter. She said the U.S. Constitution, and then she went into the Fort Mill Constitution. The way I do things is for the people. Now, they are blatantly my fear, and if I was in your shoes, I would fight like mad. I'm just a constituent. I am just a little person here. But they seem to have the power. My biggest fear is that they're going to say, heavy industrial. And then we become a heavy industrial area, which we should not be. So that should be the fight. Do not let those people who think they have so much power to look at us and say, no questions. Thank you.
Wow. Spans a lot more than just Fort Mill. So I was wondering, are you able to bring this issue to the other people of York County in your district? Because even though they're not within the mile radius and they're kind of far from it, they're not really aware of it. But to let them know that Mr. Norman was like, I can't do anything, it's federal.
You guys would be surprised. There are a lot of people who know about this, who live outside of this county. Even they said, oh, I've heard about this. I said, Silfab, yes. So there are people who know outside of this county about it, but I am deeply concerned, for the community about this project. And like I said, I will stand firmly on the zoning aspect. And I'm going to venture to say, I don't think they could get away with switching to heavy industrial. That would be a huge problem. That's just...
I see that happening now, because if they could stand there and just look and say,
But there's a process.
There's a process.
Yeah, there's a process. So your desire is to see it gone, right? To move Silfab. Okay, well, how many of you really, really have faith that that's going to happen?
because I won't allow it not to happen. I will chain myself. I will not allow them to do that.
Yeah.
You know, my greatest fear is that, God forbid, the circuit court judge himself is corrupt. I mean, yeah, you say no, but you don't know. There's been so much corruption going on, you have no idea.
But isn't Christy Cox against Silfab? Christy Cox, did you say?
Oh, Christy Cox is for herself.
Okay.
Christy Cox, like sitting up there, and I don't know what she does, but she's not for the people.
So wasn't the ruling 3-4? Which side was she on?
Oh, she was on,
She was in the 4.
let it go through,
Okay, okay.
you know.
Okay, well, that's all I wanted to know.
You know.
Pro Silfab, but that was all.
She's for Silfab, for sure.
You said you spoke to the seer. I know
Yes.
numerous people in the orchards have tried to contact the Greenway and get the Ann Spring Close people involved. And they were told, early on, they were told that it was a done deal and they wouldn't get involved. Is there any way you can get the ear of the people and let them know that, you know, from the beginning, this should not have gone, and it's going to affect them, especially the size of them, knowing that there's something problematic nearby, and they're so much into conservancy. I would think that they would have a reason to get more involved.
I asked that question, and you're the first one to give an answer. They said it was a done deal.
I think they're nonprofit, and I think they have to watch the line of, they're not supposed to do political things, so. But
This isn't necessarily political.
Well, this is not.
Yeah, and you would think, like you just said, they use a lot of the environment. They are conservationists. That surprises me. I guess that's worth finding out, checking into, to see, and to let them know. I think once the letter is gone out to the council, that based on what I've researched and the fact that this whole zoning process was just done wrong, that they need to reconsider, and that when the vote comes back, I would suggest they vote no. I mean, that's what I can do.
To me, the most, I know we have property values, those are issues, but to me, the most important issue in this is these children.
I
These
agree.
children are being forced into schools that we won't know for years and years the impact that it has on them. Some families will be able to pull their kids out if they don't like it and put them in private schools, but a lot of parents won't be able to do that.
Right.
So in your advocacy, I hope you continue to bring that to the forefront.
Yeah, a great consideration has to be given when you're putting these type of facilities in a pre-existing community, number one. And the zoning just seems all wrong. Everything about the research, the process, how it went. So it's just to point out where I see there were issues in there based on my own experience, and stand for and with the community on your concerns. I mean, that's where we are, and that there needs to be more research. I will stress in there that there needs to be more research done for the ground and get these questions answered. I actually forwarded this to Scott to see if he could give me some more feedback so I could then go back to them and let them know, okay, well, we've heard from SCDS about the air portion of it, but we haven't heard anything else, and see if there's some follow-up. But one of the first responses was from the Sierra member was they wouldn't want this in their backyard. Okay? That's, yeah.
I have two things to say. Number one, there's a misconception regarding the zoning verification request. They have written that they will be manufacturing cells and PV model solar panels. So the concept that they came in as assembly was incorrect. So let's end that concept.
Okay.
They were in here from day one as thieves. The second thing is, on Thursday, Silfab's going to have a hiring day.
Right.
We want to see everyone come out and protest them. Scott has signs, on 21. It's opposite the Food Lion. I've been there. Some other people from here have been here. You can bring a chair, have a sign, take a seat, go into a restaurant, come on back. But it's 1 to 7. Don't have to be there all the time. But we have a format of these many people marching up and down the street. We will be noticed. People going in will be concerned. And the issue, people are going in, they may not have a factory there when they start work. The issue is, as the lady said, heavy industrial is manufacturing. So everybody was blind to that word, didn't do their research. And the issue is, no one thought we would do the research.
Right.
So they are caught.
Well, see, you're a step above. You guys are a level above a lot of communities who don't know to do the research and have the wherewithal. You know,
And the other thing you mentioned, we were there August of last year, in every single meeting, we talked about the chemicals. So if someone says to you, we didn't know, they were following the words of someone else. Because we directly said, these 3 chemicals by DHEC are category 3 hazardous chemicals, dangerous chemicals. So if someone says that to you, you can say to them now, why didn't you listen to the people who presented the information? Because they were set to vote for it. Last thing, 800 jobs is being posted.
yeah.
Is a lie.
See, that's the part I was referring to.
They
You.
said in their presentation, we'll start with 128. And if we ramp up, we'll get to 800. With solar panels being the way they are, they may not ramp up. So they may just have 125 people working. The $17 million promised to the school system is over a 30-year period.
Yes, those are the details. He's referring to exactly what I was saying.
I'm read that. The council can see that.
Yes.
Those are all problems that we have to advocate and move Silfab out. And as you had said, Silfab may be too big. No. If we can move them, if they can move in, we can move them out. That's the key. Do not be intimidated. They're too big. They're going to be big someplace else.
What makes it intimidating, and not individually intimidated, is the whole process. If you look at how the city, when you mentioned 800 jobs, 17 million, they're looking at the front paper that says, this is all the investment we're going to put into your community. These are all the benefits that you're going to get. But
as you drive around, you can see all the new communities being built. How much real estate tax they're going to get?
That's my point. Yeah, long-term versus questionable.
The growth we have going to experience here.
Exactly. Yes, home ownership is kind of forever. That's the long-term. That's how you do everything in your city and town, is based on your home ownership. Factories come and go. Yes, they can bring a lot of great things into the community, but jobs is what you want. And 800 doesn't sound like a lot of jobs for the trouble that it's going, could possibly bring, okay, based on what we see and what they're going to do. So that's the intimidating part, is that the county seems to be very much interested in the proposed growth and proposed money that's supposed to come into this area. And that's a balancing act. You have got to realize that, is that worth it? So I would have been on the voting side to vote no, I can tell you that, if I had a vote on the council, just considering the entire thing. I know the difference between short-term and long-term. And again, homeowners is what makes your whole government work. It just is. So I hear you, and I'm doing what I can to voice my opinion and to stay strong with that, because I don't see any other interest, that I would have, other than that the community is safe and that we are not dealing with issues that may be not affecting us now, but that will come down the line. And then what? And then there's that. Because that was what, in this research, and I don't know if I got that paper, when she said she did a little light research, that scientist mentioned it's all about the handling, and that an accident would be terrible, which is what you guys talked to Ralph Norman about. You mentioned those things. It just kind of went over his head. Oh, no, that, I've never seen anything like that before.
He's not part of the solution, he's part of the problem.
At the beginning, I noticed someone asked, was he vested in this project?
So the school's
Sort of.
being built, that's probably what, $50 million plus dollars of investment, I guess? The school's being built?
So I would say somewhere probably between 10 and 25, maybe. I don't know exactly, you just have to find out. Yeah.
That money is coming from state, local, federal. Where's all that money come from?
To build the school?
Yeah.
That mostly
Elementary school
property.
is funded by the impact fee. The middle school,
Property.
the middle is going to be in debt relief, so it'll be the bond.
But it's two schools, so it's a large amount of money.
Used to be just property taxes,
So-
but
The
a bond.
So the impact fees for the one, and then the bond referendum for the second.
All right, so running for school board, is there not a, where's the school board falling in on this whole deal? Has there been any communication from the school board concerning Silfab?
That's key. They are a huge government body that handles a very large budget as well, but they have to deal with the children, so you would want their input.
But has there been any input?
That's a good question.
There's been, again, corruption because the school system has been supposedly given all this money by Silfab. So therefore, they've managed to block the vision of the school board. They won't even release the names of the parents that have children going to these schools so that we can reach out to these parents and tell them what they're up against. So again, it's all corruption.
They'll have to get a hold of the school and go get their parent-teacher associations.
I live just across, I live right in the backyard of where Silfab will be, or the front yard of where Silfab will be. But just on behalf of the school board, they have been told not to respond because of the lawsuits that are being,
that makes sense.
that have been issued. So I just want to submit a statement for them that it's not that they're not responding, they can't respond.
But who tells them that? Where's that?
The attorneys for the school.
The attorneys for the school.
I can see that would be the case.
Freedom of speech.
Right, not, no.
And freedom of information.
In terms of before, but I just want to say that after the lawsuits have been issued,
Yes.
they were no longer able to respond.
I expected to hear that from the councilman, that he wasn't able to speak because of the lawsuit that was pending. But the way I presented it, it was as a developer, and it was a general question having to do with the zoning and what it says exactly, and then versus what we see they're going to do, how is that possible, and how did it pass through if this is the case? Because if it says light industrial and this is what you're supposed to do, and then this is what this plan is doing, how did it pass muster? And I asked from a very deep, heartfelt way, because it would never pass for me. I'm just going to tell you. I would have to jump through all kinds of hoops. So my whole approach to this was, this happened to some people when it never would have happened for me. I know for a fact that if it was zoned a certain way and I had a business to come in, for whatever reason, you can fill in the blanks yourself, but I know that I have to follow every single letter of the law and every single rule, so it strengthens my position to be able to say, if I have to do it, then you should have to do it. So that was the standpoint that I took, is that I wouldn't be able to get away with this. So how were they? And so it was left out there to say, well, you know, just kind of the blank face stare. But in any case, I then still needed to attend that meeting, do more research, but this was just me out the gate trying to figure out how they got to that vote. And this particular individual, just to see, you know, where you stand on this. And first thing he mentioned was that economic development, which, yes, they can tell the school board not to say anything. And I was just happy that he shared what he did, which was basically the process. That's what they did. But I think that there's room for them to come back and correct themselves.
Silfab was dishonest to begin with.
That was what I
They knew
said
what they
too.
were doing.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there was some money that changed hands.
Yes.
What about the teachers union?
There is none in
It used to be the national, the
But that's not related.
Well, does anyone have any questions that are not Silfab related? Because do you understand where I stand?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I have done work beyond what actually there was a lot of time allowed to on the campaign trail, but I believe in really digging into a situation so that I can honestly stand before you and say, okay, hey guys, they did everything right. I'm sorry. Okay, this is just, you know, but I see a lot of issues when it concerns how it went down. And whoever said that that's the point, that is it. Simply say it never should have happened. Never should have happened.
And the sad part about it is, there's a lot of people, I know a lot of people in this community, as well as surrounding communities, that have COPD. They have disorders of magnitude. And if this company gets in, these people have only one of two choices. They can stay here and die, or they can try to move away. And how are they going to move away if their property values have been tanked? That's sad. That's really sad.
Well, thank you guys for coming out, those who are leaving. And yeah, if you have any questions, I'm here for you. And also, I have produced a piece of paper that I think is worth you looking at, that you can share with others maybe, that just kind of gives you a real good idea of what Ralph's doing in office right now. And it's just the list of the votes that he's voting no on. And it'll shock you to no end. So please take a look. And then there's a QR code where you can verify it. Okay. Oh, FEMA is one of them. And there's a big storm coming.
I know, right. It was a week before they voted it down. Well, thank you so much. That was so nice. I think it helped allay a lot of maybe nervousness to talk about it that much. I know there's